Good day, y'all. We're going to service this RockShox Monarch Plus today. Solid shock for the most part. Oldie but goodie. So I already took the settings off of this one. I'm going to let the air escape the chamber of commerce. Okay, so release the air pressure. High volume sleeve retention O-ring. Pull her out. Pull this off. Strap wrench. You need a strap wrench for this thing. Oh, what am I doing? If it's slipping, just clean off the oil, which I didn't do. But it's easy enough to do. Okay. Off she comes. Top out bumper. Boom. Very nice. So, onto the damper. Took a total of 2 minutes to remove the air can.
Chop, chop.
So this is the valve cap, valve core removal tool.
Where do I get one?
Yeah, you can always pick one up from mtb-hydraulics.com if you need the seal kit or the valve core tool or something. The adapter also, the inflator for the IFB, the Resi. Unfortunately, I'm actually using a different one, not the MTB Hydraulics option on this pump, but plenty of those, obviously. I use them. Valve core comes right out. This is M5 syringe. I'm just going to use this to pull it out. An M5 screw, whatever, M5 machine screw or something works. Nope, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the actual puller, but it's just an M5. Okay. This thing is worn out. Okay. Clean this up a little bit. Wipe it. Boom. Carefully remove that. Oil. Let this thing drain over here. T10 Torx over here. Remove the bleed port screw. Off she comes. Now, I'm actually going to use the syringe just to demonstrate that it actually works, this method. Boom. 12mm socket. sometimes the entire shaft starts spinning out of the eyelet. In that case, you need to clamp, take these clamps, take these clamps and tighten it back up, obviously. And just using a little screwdriver to hold these. Piston and shims, off she comes. But bearing assembly, bottom out bumper. Bottom out washer. Wipe this thing out. Put this back. Okay. And drain the oil out. Oh, I'm not gonna put that. Okay. Set this aside for now. Okay. Now we move on to replacing the seals. So I'm going to replace the seals with this MTB Hydraulics RockShox Monarch / Monarch Plus routine service seal kit, available from mtb-hydraulics.com. So just lay this thing out here. Notable difference from the OEM is that it comes with a steel ball instead of the nylon one in the stock bearing assembly. Works a lot better, frankly. So I'm just removing the plug. There you go. Out she comes. This is a 1/16 inch diameter pipe. Works well. So over here, we have a few different seals that are the same size. So the smallest diameter one is actually, so there are, the largest one goes in here. I'll start with that. And then we have two other ones which are identical. And one of them is the bottom out bumper, and the other one is not needed. The other one is for the 2012 Monarch shocks, because those have a 9mm shaft instead of the 10mm shaft. Now, the same seal is used as a bottom out bumper here. So there you have it. These backup rings, I don't normally replace. They last for a long time. Make sure the quad ring is not twisted. If it is, just carefully wiggle your pick under the quad ring and kind of pull it all the way around. Boom, that's it. Goes back on here. Oh. Okay.
Low battery. Low battery.
Okay. So low battery. Camera is pooping the bed.
Chop chop.
So this is dirty, so I always orient it downward so the dirt falls out of here with the seal. And of course, try not to scratch the seal groove surface. Try. Do your best, please.
I guess I'll try.
Okay. Wipe out the inside of this. So once again, I'm not replacing these. They're fine. They take forever to have appreciable wear. Snap that in, boom, wiper, snap her in. That's gonna be the sleeve retention O-ring. This large one we don't use. This one is for the Monarchs, not the Monarch Plus IFP seal. This one we don't use. That's for a 2020 or 2012 bearing assembly to shaft seal. And then that's the IFP and IFP cap seal, and that's sag indicator, and of course this detent. So I'm gonna throw out this old one. Leave the bottom out, the top out bumper. That doesn't wear out. Replace this. Wiping out the seal groove, wiping out the circlip shoulder, wiping off the circlip, spread it apart a little bit so it snaps in nicer or tighter. The old seal. Okay, IFP over here. Okay, and that's it. Next, it's time to fill this thing up. Okay, so inspecting this for a brief moment here. I already inspected it, but off camera. So none of the shims look good. No damage. No damage or anything, so just put this thing back. Torque spec for this little nut here is about
6.7?
6.8. 6.8. Is that Newton meters or foot pounds?
Oh, Newton meters for sure.
Newton meters. 6.8 Newton meters, which
You won the war.
Which is. And when you put this on, just make sure nothing's out of whack. Everything's seated nicely. So that's about 6.8. Oops. Calibrated wrist. Okay. So this shock uses 3-weight Maxima or RockShox fluid. So we're gonna put the fluid in here. This is clean the backside. Make sure it's clean. Shove off these little bubbles. And ooh, yes, cover this because it's gonna squirt out. like that. And then just purge the back side of that piston by pushing it down a little bit and then plug her up. And then you come in, purge the shaft by pushing this down, plug the bearing assembly hole with your finger, fill that up more or less. And then come in here, little streaks in here, don't worry about it. They come like that from the factory sometimes even. It's not necessarily wear.
They always do.
They always do. Not sometimes, always. So now that's filled up, this is filled up, and come in and boom. As I'm threading it on, air bubbles are coming out of there. Very nice. And now it's solid. I don't know, still some air bubbles. Please. Okay, that's that. So now I come in here. Put this ball back in, or not back in, the new one. 2mm Allen key for this plug. Not bad. And so what I'm gonna do is this. This is whatever. This is in enough so I can install this IFP cap just at a random depth. Oh boy. What I said about spreading the circlip, I did a little too much of it possibly. It sure snapped in nice.
Sheen coming out.
So I'm just gonna give it some air pressure here. So I just put it up to 200 psi and just gonna clamp it and cycle it. And you can see the IFP bottoming out on the cap, kind of fun. So when I do this, I usually end up having a little bit of air movement inside the shock, and then I just crack this thing open, which frankly the assembly feel is pretty good as is, but I like to just crack this open so air bubbles can flow out. So that's good enough. Happy with it. Of course I'm gonna verify this bleed after, but from experience I'm pretty confident that it just gonna work. It's just gonna work. Has no choice. Circlip, just twist the circlip out instead of using a pick. Makes it a lot cleaner. Okay, so now we need to set the depth of this IFP. If it's too deep, you can just use this 5mm syringe and pump oil into it. But in this case, let me see. 35 mm is what we need. We are at 32. Make make sure there's oil on top of this IFP so there's no accidental ingestion of air. Just carefully pushing it down. Holy!
Don't drop that.
Way too much. Okay. So now I effed it up. So I'm gonna come in here. It was at 42 instead of 35. So total F up. So come in here and I always like to purge the syringe, make sure there's no air. Okay. So it's actually 35 now. Boom. Perfecto. Boom. So there's plenty of oil on top of there. No accidental air ingestion. And then I'm gonna come in here, plug this up as a 35 mm. And you know, pushing down on it gives you a good idea if this thing is, if the bleed's good. It should feel stiff. So that's good. Okay. So we inflate this thing. Got it at 50 psi.
That was good.
Oh, frick. Valve cap. That was just a stunt, if anything.
Nice trick.
Yeah. That was a stunt. Don't mind me. $250.
That was good.
Just protect so it doesn't, this doesn't fly off and into the shock body or something. That's why I put my hand around it. And then clean up this valve cap. Nice. But I also need to test this thing. Always make sure the shock can travel full travel, or the shock can go full travel without hydro locking. That's your #1 safety check. And then I like to check the shock in both orientations. See if I can hear any air. Check the lockout. It's good. Check the rebound. Just, you know, full range of adjustments. Rebound, I'm sure it's good. Yeah, that's nice and slow. Speed it up. So we had 4 clicks. 4 clicks, so I'm going all the way out and then in 4 clicks. That's it. Okay. So happy with that. This thing goes back. Top out bumper, of course. Not quite all the way. We need some air can lubricant in the house. So, you know, I like to use Fox 20 weight gold.
Squirt bottle.
But you can kind of use any oil that's nice and thick. About 2 or 3 cc lubricant in there, pretty minor. You can probably use, I mean, I'm sure you can use the Maxima Light, which you're using for your fork also.
Or float fluid.
Or float fluid, which I don't like because it's comes past the seals, it's so thick, but 20 weight gold is pretty good for everything. Do you need more float fluid? I have lots.
I have too much.
Yeah. Trying to phase out float fluid in here.
I haven't used it in years.
Yeah. I only have about, you know, maybe 3 bottles, but
Ooh,
each bottle takes forever to get
years.
through. Well, no, not years. It's like
Buy one,
200 shocks or something, because a bottle is half a liter, 2 cc's, 3 cc's, 300 shocks.
That's years.
300 air shocks. To be
Fox,
exact.
air Fox shot.
Fox. Okay, yes. Well, make sure the orientation of this is correct. This band needs to overlap with that. Sometimes the sticker is missing and it's easy to screw up the orientation. And of course, make sure it's real tight, this air can. Okay, so we're gonna equalize it and everything, but I'm just gonna clean this up, set it aside, and deal with that on the bike. And, oh, of course, sag indicator. Spray this thing off. Where am I? Isopropyl alcohol. Spray her off. Wipe her off. And on to the next big thing.
Going home.
Okay, that's it.